stop right there. Before you scroll away, let me ask you something that might change how you see everything. Do you still believe that being good keeps you safe? That kindness protects you? That generosity builds loyalty and honesty earns respect? If your heart quietly answered yes, you're about to face one of the most painful truths about human nature. Because the biggest lie society ever sold us is that being good means being safe. But here's the brutal truth. Goodness, when left unguarded, is like fire. It warms for a while, then burns through everything. Your relationships, your career, even your dreams. Niccolò Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He watched kind rulers destroyed by the very people they tried to protect. He saw gentle leaders eaten alive by wolves in silk. Today, you and I will explore the hidden cost of goodness and how to transform it from your greatest weakness into your most powerful weapon. Before we begin, repeat this in your mind. I choose strategic goodness, because from this moment, we stop being naive. We start being wise. Part 1. Goodness as exposure. Think about the kindest person you know. The one who never complains, never refuses, always helps. Now ask yourself honestly, are they truly respected or simply used? Goodness, when it lacks boundaries, doesn't protect you. It exposes you. In a world of wolves, the sheep who never bite are always the first to bleed. I once knew a man named Ethan, a project manager at a fast-growing tech startup in Austin. He was everyone's favorite coworker, always early, always willing, always covering for others. When someone missed a deadline, Ethan quietly stayed late to fix it. When the team failed, he took responsibility. When others got credit, he smiled and said nothing. He believed that being indispensable would make him safe. But when layoffs came, he was one of the first to go. The reason? Because nice didn't look like leadership. It looked like submission. His kindness made him invisible. The same people who once depended on him barely looked him in the eye on his last day. That's the cruel paradox of unchecked goodness. The more you give, the more people expect, and the less they value it. When someone never says no, their yes becomes meaningless. When someone never draws a line, others stop seeing one. And when someone never shows their teeth, people assume they don't have any. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be both lion and fox. The lion represents strength, the power to defend yourself. The fox represents cunning, the ability to recognize danger before it strikes. If you are only the lion, you fall into traps. If you are only the fox, you get torn apart by stronger predators. And if you are the sheep, pretending that the world is kind, you get devoured." So here's the truth. Being good without strategy doesn't make you moral. It makes you vulnerable. The world doesn't reward innocence. It rewards awareness. Goodness should be a choice made from power, not a plea made from fear. So repeat this quietly, with intention. I protect my energy, because from this moment forward, your kindness will no longer be a weakness. It will be your armor, sharpened by awareness, guided by strength. Part 2. The Generosity Trap. Here's a truth most people will never say out loud. The more you give, the less people appreciate it. Generosity is beautiful, but it's also dangerous. Because it doesn't just create gratitude, it creates expectation. It breeds short-term applause and long-term entitlement. Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine named Melissa owned a small design agency in Los Angeles. She'd built her business from scratch, just her, a laptop, and endless nights fueled by caffeine and belief. She loved her clients. She went the extra mile every single time. She offered discounts to struggling startups, delivered work before deadlines, fixed mistakes that weren't hers, and even skipped family dinners to help others meet their goals. At first, everyone adored her. Emails full of praise, 5-star reviews. "Melissa, you're amazing." But over time, something changed. Her generosity stopped being special. It became expected. When she worked weekends, clients stopped saying thank you. When she delivered early, no one noticed. And the first time she refused an unreasonable request, just one, they called her unprofessional. Within a week, she lost 2 long-term clients, all because she finally drew a line. That's the generosity trap. When giving becomes your identity instead of your choice. The moment your kindness turns habitual, people stop seeing it as kindness. They see it as duty. And when duty isn't fulfilled, it feels like betrayal. Psychology has a name for this: hedonic adaptation. It means we get used to good things so quickly that we stop noticing them. The first favor feels generous. The 10th favor feels normal. The first no feels cruel. It's not that people are evil. It's that human nature adjusts. We normalize comfort faster than pain. We remember deprivation longer than abundance. And that's why those who give too freely often become invisible. You see it everywhere. At work, the employee who stays late every night eventually stops being celebrated. It's just expected. In families, the parent who sacrifices everything rarely gets thanked until they stop doing it. In friendships, the one who always listens eventually becomes the emotional garbage bin, valued only when needed. It's not the world's fault for adapting. It's your fault for forgetting to make your goodness rare enough to be respected. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He wrote, "Benefits ought to be conferred gradually, and in that way they will taste better." He didn't mean be stingy. He meant be strategic. He understood that abundance cheapens value, while scarcity sharpens appreciation. If you want people to respect your kindness, don't flood them with it. Give thoughtfully. Give purposefully. Let your generosity breathe, so that when it appears, it feels sacred again. Melissa eventually learned this. She raised her prices. She stopped working weekends. She started saying no, kindly, firmly, unapologetically. And you know what happened? The wrong clients left. The right ones stayed and respected her more. Because generosity, when given strategically, doesn't lose value. It multiplies it. So remember this: every time you give, you teach people how to treat you. If you give endlessly, they'll take endlessly. But if you give with intention, they'll value your every act. Repeat this now, not as a quote, but as a boundary. I give strategically. Part 3. The Mask of Virtue. We live in a world that worships perception. People don't care if you're truly good. They care if you look good. In politics, in business, even in love, image is currency, and perception is reality. We grow up believing that virtue will speak for itself. But the truth is, virtue without strategy is invisible. You can be honest, loyal, and kind, yet lose to someone who merely appears that way. Because the world judges with its eyes long before it listens with its heart. Think of a surgeon. He cuts your body open to save your life. The act itself looks violent, cold, even cruel. But is he a monster? He's precise. He's disciplined. He causes pain to prevent something far worse. Real leadership is no different. Sometimes you have to choose between being liked and being effective. I once worked with a CEO named Carla, the kind of leader everyone adored. She remembered birthdays, hosted team dinners, wrote handwritten thank you cards. She made everyone feel seen, but behind that warmth was steel. When someone crossed ethical lines, she didn't yell, didn't argue. She simply called them in, looked them in the eye, and said, "This isn't who we are." And they were gone by the end of the week. No drama, no public punishment, just quiet accountability. Carla understood something most leaders never do, that kindness without strength invites chaos, and strength without kindness breeds fear. The balance of both. That's mastery. That's what Machiavelli called the mask of virtue. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." It wasn't cynicism. It was survival. Machiavelli understood that the world runs on perception, and that managing perception isn't deception, it's discipline. To the world, appear kind. To yourself, remain powerful. Be merciful when mercy serves good, and ruthless when justice demands it. This is not about pretending or lying. It's about timing. A wise man doesn't expose his heart to those who would weaponize it. A wise woman doesn't show her softness to those who mistake it for weakness. In a noisy age of oversharing and emotional exhibitionism, power now lies in mystery, in measured virtue. So wear your kindness like armor, not like skin. Let people see your compassion, but never your exhaustion. Let them feel your warmth, but not your wounds. And when necessary, let them taste your strength. Not to harm, but to remind them you can. Because the truth is, reputation builds faster than reality. Once people perceive you as weak, you will spend years trying to prove otherwise. But if they perceive you as strong, your silence alone becomes influence. The greatest mistake good people make is believing that authenticity means exposure. It doesn't. Authenticity means alignment between what you seem and what you are. So control your mask. Master your image. Not to manipulate, but to protect your truth from those who don't deserve full access to it. Repeat this, not as vanity, but as strategy. I control my image. Because the world doesn't reward pure hearts. It rewards wise ones. Part 4. The Economics of Power. Every yes you give carries a hidden price tag. It costs you something. Time, focus, energy, and those are currencies far more limited than money. You can earn money back. You can't earn back the hours that slipped away serving everyone but yourself. Most people never realize that kindness has an economic system of its own. Every favor, every extra hour, every unspoken sacrifice, it all withdraws from your inner account. And if you never stop to check the balance, one day you wake up bankrupt, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Think about what airlines tell you before every flight. Put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others. Why? Because if you can't breathe, you can't save anyone else. That isn't selfish. That's strategy. It's survival. I once met a nurse named Daniela in Chicago. She was the kind of person everyone depended on. She covered extra shifts, volunteered for holidays, filled in when others called out sick. Her patients adored her. Her supervisors praised her. She never said no, not once in 2 years. And then, one winter morning, she collapsed in the hospital hallway. She'd been running on caffeine, adrenaline, and guilt. Guilt that saying no would make her seem selfish. When I visited her later, she looked me straight in the eye and said quietly, "I wanted to help everyone, but I forgot to help myself." That line stayed with me because it's the story of millions of people, the silent givers, the ones who carry the world until it crushes them. They mistake depletion for devotion. They think saying yes to everyone is goodness, when in truth, it's slow suicide. Even saints needed rest. Even the most selfless souls withdrew to renew their strength. Jesus retreated into the wilderness to pray. Mother Teresa took sabbaticals to regain clarity, because they understood something modern people forget. A burned-out light can't guide anyone. Your energy is not infinite. Your kindness is not bottomless. Every yes you give means a no to something else, often your peace, your focus, or your growth. That's the hidden economics of power. To stay strong, you must learn to budget your compassion. To command others, you must first command yourself. Leadership begins with self-governance. Machiavelli wrote, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command." And the first person you must learn to command is you. Your time, your emotions, your availability. Because the moment you lose control of your energy, someone else will use it for their agenda. They won't even mean harm. They'll just consume what you offer freely. And when you're empty, they'll move on to the next giver. Protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's sustainable. Boundaries don't block love. They preserve it. When you protect your time, your energy, your focus, you actually have more to give. And what you give will have meaning again. So take a deep breath and repeat this. Not with guilt, but with authority. I protect my resources. Because power without preservation always ends in collapse. And you can't lead anyone from the ground. Part 5. Strategic use of virtue. This is where true mastery begins. Because the problem has never been your goodness. The problem is your aimless goodness. Being good is noble. Being randomly good is wasteful. Your goodness must have direction, rhythm, and purpose. Think of it like a sword. A sword left hanging on a wall protects no one. But in the right hands, at the right time, it can defend a kingdom. It's not the sword that matters. It's the precision of the one who wields it. Kindness, mercy, honesty, generosity. These are all forms of power. But power, when unshaped, dissolves. You must learn to sharpen it, not for destruction, but for discernment. Look at history. Martin Luther King Jr. was not nice to injustice. He didn't whisper his beliefs, he thundered them. He confronted oppression with clarity and courage. His goodness had an edge, focused, firm, and disciplined. Mother Teresa wasn't kind to everyone who asked. She didn't try to solve every problem or please every person. She focused fiercely on the poorest of the poor, the forgotten, the dying, the ones no one else would touch. Her goodness was not scattered. It was strategic. It was channeled, not spilled. That's the difference between emotional kindness and effective kindness. Emotional kindness wants to make everyone happy. Effective kindness wants to make something better. Before you say yes to anyone or anything, stop and ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Does this align with my values and long-term purpose? 2. Can I do this without draining myself dry? 3. Will this act be appreciated or exploited? If the answer to any of these questions is no, then your refusal is not cruelty. It's clarity. You're not rejecting them. You're protecting your mission. It's easy to feel guilty when you say no. But guilt often disguises itself as false virtue. Real virtue requires discipline. the courage to prioritize what matters most. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology gave it language. He wrote, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." He didn't glorify betrayal. He described adaptation, the ability to evolve your decisions based on new realities. Sometimes keeping an old promise means breaking faith with your future. Sometimes being good to others requires being firm with yourself. Sometimes protecting your dream means disappointing people who wanted to use your time, your energy, or your loyalty. Strategic virtue isn't cold. It's controlled. It means you know where to pour your light and where to keep it guarded. It means you don't waste compassion on people who weaponize it. It means you give deeply, but not indiscriminately. Because your goodness should not be a reaction. It should be a choice, intentional, focused, impactful. So from now on, don't measure kindness by how much you give. Measure it by the strength it builds. Say no without apology. Say yes with power. And remember, true goodness isn't about pleasing everyone. It's about preserving what's right. Repeat this, not as comfort, but as command. I choose effective kindness. Part 6. The illusion of gratitude. Here's one of the hardest truths about human nature. Gratitude fades. You can pour your time, energy, and heart into helping others, but the moment you stop, they remember the absence, not the effort. You help a colleague 10 times, they thank you twice. You say no once, and suddenly you're selfish. It's not malice, it's not evil, it's adaptation. The human mind is wired to normalize good things quickly. Psychologists call it hedonic adaptation, the process of turning yesterday's gift into today's expectation. We get used to comfort. We get used to care. And once something becomes familiar, it no longer feels special. That's why people forget your kindness, but never forget your mistake. It's why one act of betrayal can erase a decade of loyalty, because pain leaves a scar, comfort leaves a shadow. Think about it. If you always say yes, people stop noticing the cost of your yes. They stop seeing your sacrifice, your effort, your limits. You become the reliable one, the person they call when no one else will do it. And the day you say, "I can't this time," the shock is so great it feels like betrayal. It's not that they stopped caring about you. It's that they stopped seeing you. Familiarity makes even the most extraordinary kindness look ordinary. I once knew a man who took care of his aging parents for 10 years, cooked, cleaned, worked 2 jobs to keep them comfortable. When he got sick and couldn't visit for a month, his relatives said, "He's changed. He doesn't care anymore." They forgot 10 years of sacrifice and focused on 30 days of absence. That's the illusion of gratitude, the cruel arithmetic of memory. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone can see, few can feel. People see what you're doing now more clearly than they remember what you did before. Your past kindness becomes invisible, while your present limits are magnified. So what can you do? Don't stop being kind. Just stop being invisible. Give where your goodness is valued, not where it's consumed. Let your absence occasionally remind people of your worth. Let them feel the silence that follows your effort. Because true gratitude isn't in constant giving. It's in measured giving. It's when your kindness has space to echo. Protect it like treasure. Invest it where it will be seen, felt, and remembered. And repeat this with calm conviction. I create lasting impact. Part 7. Results over intentions. The world doesn't judge your heart. It judges your results. You can have the purest intentions, the most compassionate motives, the most selfless dreams. But if your actions don't create real outcomes, your goodness becomes background noise. You've probably met people who mean well, who talk endlessly about helping others, changing the world, doing good, yet never follow through. They mistake intention for transformation. But the truth is, the world moves only when actions do. History proves it. Abraham Lincoln wasn't celebrated during his lifetime. During the Civil War, he was called cold, heartless, even tyrannical. He made decisions that broke hearts, but saved a nation. And long after the noise of his critics faded, his results remained. Because intentions fade in conversation, but outcomes are written in history. That's the law of life. Intentions are invisible, results are eternal. The difference between nice and good lies here. Nice people avoid conflict, good people resolve it. Nice people want to be liked, good people want to make a difference. Nice people give comfort, good people create change. You see, moral purity without effectiveness is vanity. It makes you feel righteous, but changes nothing. A surgeon who refuses to operate because it might hurt is not kind. He's cowardly. A leader who avoids hard decisions to stay popular isn't compassionate. He's weak. Machiavelli understood this paradox perfectly. He wrote, "The end justifies the means." That line is often misunderstood as cruelty, but he wasn't advocating evil. He was describing responsibility. He meant that virtue means nothing if it doesn't work. If your kindness achieves nothing, it's sentimentality. If your integrity solves nothing, it's self-decoration. Real goodness is measured not by how pure your motives are, but by how much positive change you create. You can't feed the hungry with good intentions. You can't heal a wound with empathy alone. You must act, and act effectively. So don't let fear of judgment paralyze you. The world doesn't need people who mean well. It needs people who get things done, who turn virtue into movement, compassion into creation, and purpose into power. Repeat this, not as ambition, but as truth. I focus on outcomes. Part 8. Legacy and Survival. History doesn't remember the agreeable. It remembers the enduring, those who turned survival into legacy. The world doesn't build statues for the pleasant. It builds them for the powerful. For those who stood firm when compromise was easier. Try this. Name 5 nice people from history. You can't, because nice fades. Nice gets forgotten. But you can name 5 who changed the course of the world, even if they weren't easy to love. Steve Jobs, Winston Churchill, Eleanor Roosevelt. They weren't known for being agreeable. They were known for being necessary. Each of them carried a certain sharpness, a certain strength that made their existence uncomfortable, but unforgettable. Why? Because they understood something most good people never do. To preserve goodness, you must first survive. You can't heal anyone if you're broken. You can't give anything if you've given everything away. You can't speak truth if you've lost your voice. The kindest souls burn out first because they believe survival is selfish. But survival isn't selfish. It's strategic. When you protect yourself, you're not abandoning others. You're ensuring you'll still be there when they need you most. I once met a volunteer named Margaret who worked for an international aid organization. She spent years traveling to war zones, disaster sites, and refugee camps. She gave everything, her time, her energy, her health. When I met her, she was exhausted, sick, and ready to quit. "I thought the more I gave, the more good I'd do," she said. "But I've realized I'm no use to anyone if I'm destroyed." That's the lesson one even saints had to learn. You cannot light the world if your flame dies out too soon. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." He wasn't glorifying fear. He was teaching preservation, because respect sustains what affection cannot. Love is emotional. It fades with time, fatigue, or misunderstanding. Respect endures. It anchors you when love wavers. The truth is, you don't have to choose between being good and being strong. The world only forces that choice on those who haven't yet built inner power. But if you ever must choose, choose strength, because only strength gives goodness a chance to exist. When you have strength, your kindness carries weight. Your compassion gains credibility. Your voice cuts through noise instead of being drowned by it. Weakness may look gentle, but it kills influence. And influence is how good intentions become real-world impact. So protect yourself, not out of fear, but out of purpose. Guard your time, your energy, your peace, not because you don't care, but because you do. Deeply, wisely, enduringly, because when you survive, you can serve longer. When you endure, your message lasts beyond your lifetime. That's what legacy truly is. Goodness preserved by strength. It's the moment when your principles outlive your presence. So repeat this, slowly, deliberately, with conviction. I master strategic goodness. Because goodness without strength fades. But strength guided by goodness builds empires, shapes generations, and never dies. Closing, the quiet power of strategic goodness. Let's end with this simple, unsettling truth. Goodness without wisdom destroys itself. But goodness with clarity, that changes the world. Being kind doesn't mean saying yes to everything. It means saying yes intelligently. Being honest doesn't mean exposing all truth at once. It means revealing truth with timing and grace. Being generous doesn't mean giving endlessly. It means giving where it plants seeds, not where it feeds addiction. So ask yourself tonight, will you keep being good blindly until it drains you dry? Or will you rise into a higher form of goodness, one that builds strength, commands respect, and leaves a mark that endures long after you're gone? Because the world doesn't need more nice people. It needs strategically good people. People who can hold light in one hand and a sword in the other. People who know that mercy without boundaries becomes weakness, and strength without mercy becomes tyranny. Strategic goodness is not about cold calculation. It's about measured warmth. It's about loving with discernment, giving with awareness, and leading with balance. It's the kind of power that doesn't shout, doesn't need validation, and doesn't chase recognition. It simply acts, quietly, decisively, effectively. Remember this, in a world full of wolves, don't be a sheep, but don't become a wolf either. Be the shepherd, the one who protects, guides, and endures, not through noise or aggression, but through wisdom, patience, and quiet strength. Because real power isn't about domination. It's about preservation, of goodness, of order, of peace. And the rarest kind of strength is the one that stays gentle while remaining unbreakable. If this message opened your eyes, share it. Because somewhere out there, another good person is about to give up, thinking their goodness is weakness. Help them see what you now know, that strategic goodness isn't soft. It's the hardest, highest form of strength. Final affirmation. I master strategic goodness.